It's the John and Gordy Show.
Do you know what this means?
Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy?
You're pretty high and far out, aren't you? What kind of kick are you on, son?
No good bastard. Your show sucks.
What made me think this was a good day to stop drinking?
Buddy, you want coffee?
Coffee.
Black coffee.
Coffee!
Coffee.
They warned us about people like you!
What a load of crap.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
We'll do it live.
And that's the way it is.
On 92.7 FM WMDX. Take it away, boys.
Well, we need some coffee, right?
Oh, do
Start
we
the day
ever?
off right. Wow.
Got a big day ahead of us, John Peterson.
I know, this is jam-packed. I don't know how we're going to find the time to even talk about half the things we need to talk about this morning.
We should have started 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might have to cut into Stephanie Miller's program.
We might have to somehow stretch time itself.
Really? Really? Bend the
Get a,
time-space continuum?
then we'll hop into the time tunnel and get a few extra minutes.
The time tunnel, yes. Those were the days. Look at the sunshine once again. It's a bright, beautiful start this morning. It's going to be
incredible, isn't it?
Wonderful all day long. A lot of people already getting ready to travel. It's John Peterson, Gordy Young, producer Sam pushing the buttons, flipping the switches,
You said
sending
Sam.
emails. Oh, did I say Sam?
You said Sam.
Whoa.
Wow.
Okay. Slip. Okay.
All right.
Boris is
There we
punching the buttons and
Yes, Boris.
flipping the switches.
How about if we get to the WMDX official weather watch
Yeah?
from Samsung?
Okay.
71 degrees currently, high. Well, in fact, it feels like 71 degrees.
Does it? Yeah, I don't think it's quite that warm.
High of 89 today, and a low tonight of around 69 degrees. Possible thunderstorms this evening, so we'll see about that. Not a real big possibility, but
Only
that's
a 20% chance. It's like the
okay.
cover your ass
I have
percentage.
35%. I know it's a
weather
cover your
department.
ass thing. I hated that more than anything. Every day I was, there's a slight chance for some rain
20%.
today.
20%.
Yeah, it's just
Really?
ridiculous.
That
you
doesn't
know,
mean anything.
yeah. And then of course the official WMDX weather window is never incorrect, and it looks sunny today.
Yeah, the weather window temperature is
Yeah.
67 degrees.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
and with highs in the mid-80s today, and I think it's going to feel fairly comfortable.
All right, well, you're stepping
have-
on a limb there.
Well, did you check the dew point? Can you check the dew point? Do you have the dew point?
I actually can. Yes,
Is the
I
dew
scroll
point
through
available?
a lot of the. yes. I don't have to pay for it. It doesn't have an entry fee.
Pay as you go.
Let's see. Well, the dew point is about 64, so it's starting to feel rather uncomfortable. Humidity about 79%, so look out.
Yeah.
I wonder how warm it's going to be tomorrow for the 4th of July.
If only there was a way to figure that out. I
If
don't
there
know
was
how do we
a
do
kind
that.
of
Let's
a
see.
way to
Friday.
prognosticate the weather
Let's
and look
see.
into the future.
I'm seeing 88 for a high tomorrow, and
Humidity
partly cloudy, and it looks like it'll be rain-free. So,
and that's good.
That is good.
so those fireworks will be going off all over the place.
You know, I came out against fireworks the other day.
Did you?
Yeah, but you know, people, if you do it responsibly, you know, more power to you. I read a city memo from Sun Prairie saying they're illegal here. No one can fire off a firework in our city. Okay,
Really?
yeah, that was their memo to the friendly folks in Sun Prairie. You can't do it. You know, somebody asked a very simple question.
They're illegal.
If I have fireworks, can I shoot them off? No, you can't. No one can. It's not possible in Sun Prairie. No way.
Good luck with that.
Okay, man.
All right.
Calm down.
Yeah. A little bit later on, we're going to talk to Jim Santelle. He's going to catch us up on whatever's going on with the Supreme Court. You know, the pending cases, whatever has been happening the last few days.
He always gets into the weeds with this stuff, and we
know.
love that part of it. But at some point, I look at the big picture, and I'm looking at what they're doing, how they're destroying this country, from the executive branch to the administrative branch, the legislative branch to, you know, of course, you know, the
Congress.
Well, what's the one with the courts in it?
Judicial branch.
Judicial branch.
Okay.
Is it?
Yes.
Wow.
You okay?
No, I need more coffee. Brain cells aren't firing on all six.
What's our coffee guy anyway? He never stops.
We never
by
have
anymore.
him around here anymore. I guess
What happened? Did he
we
banish
locked the
him?
door enough.
Hey, does anybody want coffee?
No, he got in.
Who wants coffee?
Oh,
I
boy.
just made a fresh pot of coffee.
Fresh?
Anybody want coffee?
Over here.
Who wants coffee?
Right over
want
this
coffee?
way.
Who wants coffee?
Doors open.
Wait, hold it.
Come on in.
Oh, well,
I just
that's
made
weird.
coffee. Does anybody want
Yes.
coffee? Who wants
Over.
coffee? You want coffee?
Still can't find the
The thing
studio.
is, he can't hear us over whatever he's saying. It's never a fresh pot by the time we get to it.
That's for sure. I mentioned Jim Santelle. Tim Slekar will also join us from Busted Pencils in a little while and get caught up on education.
Yeah, there's a lot of little things. You know, Anago made the press, and they talked about that. Yeah. And it's an interesting story out of Anago. So we'll talk to
Tim Slekar.
Tim Slekar.
Are you having a moment?
It's going to be a long morning.
You know, maybe, I walked in today, you know it, right? I said, we have such a jam-packed show. I don't even know how we're going to get to any of it. Now it's so jam-packed, I can't remember anybody's names that are part of the show anymore. Oh, man,
it's
I'll
okay.
tell you.
It's okay.
I was listening to Schwaba.
Yeah.
I remember his name.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was talking about that documentary on smart studios that will be going on.
Yes.
At the Atwood
Music
Hall, whatever. So anyway, they're going to have that film there. This is like a 10-year-old film.
Yeah. And it's that's going to be in a couple of days. I've got I have the date on my calendar at the desk.
It sounds
over
really
there,
interesting.
Yeah, it's really going to be something because they'll be talking with Butch Vig and some of the other people that were a part of Smart Studios.
Right, exactly.
Bodines are playing there tonight.
Oh, they are?
Yep.
Ah.
Yeah, they are.
Well, there's
Fun
only
times.
one Bodine now at this point.
Well,
right. The other guy was dating the other Bodine's daughter.
Oh, is that right?
That didn't go over well.
Really?
Yeah, that did not happen.
There was a problem with
I
that.
think that was the problem, or his ex-wife, or something. I don't remember exactly. But,
July 9th
there was some
is
friction there.
July 9th is actually the Smart Studios get together at Atwood Music Hall, and that'll be good. That's Smart Studios, man.
Yeah,
they cranked out a lot of great stuff.
Well, the precursor, of course, was the group Spooner.
Yes, Spooner,
and those guys went on.
Butch Vig and Doug Erickson.
Yeah, Doug Erickson.
Yeah, and then Garbage. Had that band, and but they did a lot of great stuff with musicians at Smart Studios, and that's going to be quite the documentary and get together. Okay, all right.
I'm just
what? Take a
all
breath.
morning long. I'm just going to joke about the fact that I can't remember people's names. Okay, and then I can get away with that. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm just pulling your leg.
Okay.
Seeing if you're paying attention.
All right. So let's get the game going here.
Yeah, let's get
find out what's worse.
Would you rather? And hey,
you need more coffee too.
Brain fart thing that you got going on is contagious, I think.
Okay, I actually have an intro for this now.
What is it?
Let's play it.
All right. Go ahead.
This is Would You Rather?
It's like wedding music or something. Would you rather?
Yeah. By the way,
All
your neighbors texted us and said also the band Firetown.
Oh yes, Firetown.
Yeah, from Spooner to Firetown.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about Firetown.
All right, let's get into Would You Rather. First question. Would you rather be forced to listen to the Barney theme song or someone slurp soup for 24 hours straight?
They're both the same. After hearing the Barney theme song, you do want to slurp soup.
I'd go with the slurping of the soup. Remember how much fun we have with the Barney theme song?
Yeah.
Do you have the Barney theme song handy?
I think I do. I gotta turn down this music.
There you go. Hey kids, how you doing?
Oh God! All right. Let's listen to some Barney.
Listen to some.
Okay.
We got to break. Oh, here we go.
Barney is a dinosaur from our imagination, and when he starts Barney's friends are big and small. They come from lots of places.
Okay, I can't listen to that anymore.
No.
All right,
Neither can we.
Let's switch that up now. Okay. All right. So second question. Actually, what would you guys say? You said soup, right? Soup?
Yeah, I'd rather slurp. Listen to slurping.
I think I would listen to slurping soup too. All right. Second question. Would you rather be seated on an airplane between a couple that's arguing or next to a crying baby?
I'd like to sit next to the couple arguing so I could throw my 2 cents in.
That was good. That was good. Gordy,
yeah,
what
I
about you?
mean, I got to go along with that. Crying baby would be really, really tough.
I think I agree. Yeah, we're all in agreement here. The first 2 questions. Yeah, I couldn't handle a crying baby.
Yeah. Okay.
Third and final question.
Okay.
Would you rather get brain freeze from ice cream or burn your mouth on hot food? Hopefully. I think
I'll go with the brain freeze since I've never experienced that. So I'll just
Really?
enjoy my ice cream.
No kidding.
I've never had brain freeze.
Never
brain-
once.
No, it's just a myth. It's a myth.
It's a
Something people have created to make it seem like.
No.
Gordy, you've ever had brain freeze?
Oh no. Oh yes.
Do
I
you
have.
really? You've gotten that?
Oh sure.
It's real?
Oh yes.
Wow.
So I would go the burning food on the tongue. What was it?
I think I would go burning food on burning your mouth on hot food.
All right.
I think I would do that. But yeah, those are the 3 questions.
Wow.
You stay up really late at night coming up with these, don't you?
I do.
Okay. Well, those are good questions.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Find out a little bit more about each and every one of us here in the studio.
So, Dom, do you have big plans for the 4th of July weekend?
Big plans.
3
I do.
days off. You know, we pre-taped tomorrow's show.
We did. We did. Yes. And
but we've got a lot of great segments in
yeah.
there, but some best of stuff. So
Interviews that we've done.
recently.
Yeah.
So what's your plan?
My plan is my friends from back in Illinois. That's where I'm originally from.
That's right. You're going to hop a freight car and hit the Hobo circuit. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be on the
All
train
right,
track.
man. That's fantastic.
Just watching everything.
Yeah?
That's what I'm going to be doing. Yep. And yeah, surprisingly, I have friends that are going to be coming up here. And we're just going to be watching some fireworks. That's it.
Wow.
Nice and easy.
Plenty of fireworks to be had.
So why did they think coming up to Madison was an important time for them?
Well, because they live somewhere that's really boring, and they don't want to be there.
Okay.
Good old small town of Frankfort, Illinois.
Okay.
So-
Well, if you're from the flatlands, it's not a great place to be anyway. There's really not a lot to see except for flat land. Of course, you head north of the Cheddar Curtain, and suddenly everything just brightens up. You got the Dells just waiting for you.
Dells, yes.
It's
That's
like
the destination.
It's
yeah.
like Oz, in the distance you see Oz
Yeah.
just shining.
And the 4th of July
spotlights.
weekend is really the big start of summer in the Dells.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
boy. So there'll be a big backup on the interstate, heading north up there.
Yeah.
Probably later today.
Well, I
and
hope so.
All through the weekend. Yes.
And they have the best water parks in the nation. They
All right.
really do.
We're just getting started on this Thursday morning. Back with more of John and Gordy in just a moment.
I say no, 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 don't pass me over. No, 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 don't pass me by. See, I can see good things for you tonight. Yeah, good things for you. No, 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 don't pass me over. No, no, no. Out here about John Peterson on 92 FM, babe. He works with a guy named Gordy Young. They spin them the way you want to hear them. Could it be that 92 FM was made for you and me? Now every morning they get you rolling, playing songs, help you make it through your day. Oh, this station is right on, babe. Now that 92 FM keeps rocking this way. Ah, with Johnny Peterson, you can't lose. Look out for Gordy Young. You can't go wrong. Keep that dial right on 92, babe. With the greatest sounds that keep rocking this town.
Bring it on home. Come on. Russ Laniello.
Here he is.
Look out for 92 FM, baby.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. He was something else, man.
Russ Laniello.
Yeah, was
I wonder where he. I'd like to.
He's in Vegas.
Is he?
Yeah. I contacted him. I didn't hear back from him. I thought maybe he'd do another one of these songs.
Right.
Not yet, but I'll harangue him a little bit more. You know, he used to play at a supper club on the southwest side. Capitol Hill Supper Club.
Oh, yeah, the Capitol Hill.
And he'd play these cassettes for the music bed. And then he'd do his impressions of Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Great stuff, though.
Oh, man. He was
just fun.
Terrific singer. Yeah. And a lot of fun.
And appear on the show, you know, you take that kind of chance, you know, you got nothing to lose. So,
good guy.
Could we get the AOC cut queued up and ready to go?
AOC, right. Yeah, the one that goes.
All right.
Let me just mention that, I wanted to put this in here that at this time, this portion of the show is brought to you by Madison Hearing Aid Center. You can find them at 4706 Cottage Grove Road, Madison. They offer fast and flexible appointments. Jim and Sarah will take care of you there. They help people change their lives. Their number one goal isn't just selling hearing aids. It's improving the quality of life through better hearing. MadisonHearingAidCenter.com. Great website. Check it out. You can get a free hearing test right there to get you started. It's Madison Hearing Aid Center, 4706 Cottage Grove Road in Madison. Okay.
Yeah, well, last night, I was watching Andor on the Disney Channel. Andor. It's a spinoff of Star Wars. It's a prequel. Okay. Very, very, very early prequel of Star Wars. And I was having a difficult time hearing the dialogue. And I thought, well, get out the hearing aids,
Yeah, right.
And I didn't have them charged up.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So I just floated through reading the closed captions. But
it doesn't take real long to charge them up, right?
I don't know. I don't know how long.
Well, it only takes a few minutes, like maybe 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so anyway, we want to hear Andor. Andor's a character.
Yeah.
That's the guy's name, and he goes through all these iterations of trying to get the opposition going against, the Dark Lords. So.
Okay. Well, you were talking about AOC.
Yes.
And she had she was on the House floor yesterday.
Yeah.
And really gave her thoughts about the big, beautiful bill and what it's all about. Let's just let her go.
Let her rip.
Let it go.
Thank you, and I thank the chairman. President Trump had issued some statements throughout this process saying and urging, insisting that this bill does not cut Medicaid. He's also said some things, he says he doesn't think I'm too much of a smart person. And I'll tell you one thing. It doesn't take a smart person to know if you're being lied to.
All right.
President Trump, you're either being lied to or you are lying to the American people. because this bill represents, in the text of this bill, the largest and greatest loss of health care in American history. 17 million Americans will lose their health care on this bill, not undocumented people, not quote unquote the disgusting term illegal, but 17 million Americans will have their health care cut from this bill. On this point of tax on tips, as one of the only people in this body who has lived off of tips, I want to tell you a little bit about the scam of that text, a little bit of the fine print there. The cap on that is $25,000, while you're jacking up taxes on people who make less than $50,000 across the United States, while taking away their SNAP, while taking away their Medicaid, while kicking them off of the ACA and their health care extensions. So if you're at home and you're living off tips, you do the math. Is that worth it to you? Losing all your health care, not able to feed your babies, not being able to put a diaper on their bottom in exchange for what? This bill is a deal with the devil. It explodes our national debt. It militarizes our entire economy, and it strips away health care and basic dignity of the American people. For what? To give Elon Musk a tax break and billionaires the greedy taking of our nation. We cannot stand for it, and we will not support it. You should be ashamed.
Yeah, ashamed. Great. Sums it up.
Puts it into context. Well. Yeah. Well, they're still voting on that this morning.
Hakeem Jeffries is stalling.
Yes.
And he just continues to speak, delaying the vote.
That's right. But they do expect it to happen sometime a little later this morning. So we're keeping our eye on that.
And, of course, the state budget has been signed, folks.
Oh, that's right. Yes. We'll get into that.
Yep.
And a whole lot more. Tim Slekar is right around the corner from Busted Pencils to talk about what's the latest in education and any updates there. Coming back with more of John and Gordy on a Thursday after this.
Hey, Tim.
Good morning.
Hey. We got so much stuff going on that we're going to ask that we'll just take the first part of our break and not not at 50. After that, it'll just
one segment.
Yeah, one segment. Okay.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
All right. And I'd like to talk about the program in Antigo about cutting wood. The sawmill story in Antigo.
That's a cool story.
That's a very cool story. So.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
You guys you gonna blow stuff up tomorrow?
Yeah. We're going to stay away from everybody blowing things up. I got a dog that's afraid of all that stuff. In fact, she hides when she hears my one of my sons playing his video games with explosions in it. She thinks that's also thunder.
Real stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else is going on, Tim? Anything happening in your new occupation that there must be really interesting things going on because
there is some cool stuff, and I think we'll start to once I get some of these things down solid, I want to talk about them. We're building some neat partnerships with taking some old coal-fired electricity generating plants and turning them into new natural gas. With the whole idea is that they're going to provide the energy for the new AI info systems, as Pittsburgh is now going to become the Silicon Valley of Appalachia.
Wow. Okay, that's a big story. I know that all these big companies are trying to put in mini nuke plants because they've got mini nukes now.
Well, and that is also one of the partnerships that Westinghouse is trying to do that. And there's a Westinghouse right here about an hour away from campus that
Westinghouse. I haven't heard that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even know they were still in business.
Oh, they're still. In fact, they're one of the leaders of building what John said, these mini nukes.
Okay.
I picture the W.
I gotta turn you guys off.
W.
Me too. Okay.
The Wisconsin landscape is lit up by a million shining stars. I am traveling up the Edens to the land of the under 21 bars. I'm going to Cheeseland, the Dells in Door County. I'm going to Cheeseland.
Broadcasting from Cheeseland, capital of Wisconsin, Madison, overlooking State Street. John and Gordy in the morning on WMDX 92.7.
We've got sunshine this morning. It's going to be bright and beautiful through the day. Highs in the mid-80s this afternoon. And it's going to heat up over the 4th of July holiday weekend. This portion of the show brought to you by Verlo Mattress. You can wake up and sleep better on a Verlo mattress. A lot has changed since 1958 when they opened their doors, but some things have remained constant. They're still direct-to-consumer, providing superior products at unbeatable prices. Verlo Mattress, 2 Madison locations, East Side, West Side, and go to Verlo.com for more information.
Well, we're talking to Dr. Tim Slekar from Busted Pencils this morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Tim.
Good morning. Hey. How are you guys?
We're doing okay. And I'm wondering why they didn't have this commercial scale sawmill here in Wisconsin at the time I was in school. but Antigo has this thing going, and this sounds really interesting. You were talking about it in your latest podcast.
Yeah.
Fill us in a little bit on this thing.
Well, we've been focusing a lot lately on Busted Pencils on, I guess you could, maybe one way of phrasing it is alternative higher education.
Yeah.
What is there out, I don't want a 4-year degree and $150,000 in debt to work at Costco, things like that.
But it's a great place to work.
It is. It's a great place.
Yeah.
And so we've been, what are these other pathways? And people think of the trades, and let's focus on those because those are essential occupations and skills. And what we, in fact, it was our producer Jacob who brought us this story from Antigo, where in combination with the University of Wisconsin system up there, high tech wood cutting.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like you read this, and my thing is like, oh, so they got a sawmill up in the North Woods. Big deal. Of course they do, and so really we got to train people on how to put stuff through a saw, other than, don't
Be careful.
Yeah. When
keep your hands out,
keep fingers away. And so an apprenticeship on wood cutting would be, at the end of the day, you have all your fingers.
Right.
You're now
hopefully,
you're a skilled wood cutter. And actually what this piece does is points out that the whole science of wood and the technology of the saws and the new systems in there and how to analyze the different trees and the woods and the type of cuts and how many different cuts you could make for, economic benefit and how to mix these things. It's a high tech job to be a woodcutter. And there is a place in Anaco up in the North Woods that is saying, you know what, we've got a facility, and with a grant from the University of Wisconsin system, they put together this facility that really can give people an alternative higher education in a high-tech field, in an industry that is right there at home in the North Woods. And I think what I really like about this is that this is one of these opportunities that creates economic independence for people to stay in their communities and add and contribute to rebuilding, particularly those rural towns that have been hit so hard.
Yeah. I was fascinated by the fact that you can scan wood for the knots in the wood and the ingrown bark in some of these trees. And I had no idea they could do that.
Yeah, last time I saw that was like, Superman could do stuff like that, right?
X-ray vision.
Yeah, that's right.
But who knew that your Chat GPT could see through wood?
I know. I have more respect for that now than ever before. I think what they're going to have to do is, we've got a big statue of Paul Bunyan in the Dells. They're going to have to put a cell phone in his hand where he's working an app to cut wood.
There you go.
My God.
Throw away that axe, Paul Bunyan.
That's right.
They still have great pancakes there, by the way.
and lots of bacon.
Oh, my God. Yeah, they pile it on.
Oh, boy. Well, this is really an interesting thing because, I hail from Middleton, where my kids went to Middleton High School, and on the board, they always had the new jobs that they were training for. It would change maybe a couple of times a year, but you could take certain classes and train for those specific jobs. So this is just another extension of that, and this is really something else. I mean, the safety aspect of it, though, the insurance coverage for something like this might be extensive.
Well, I could actually bring my Uncle Jewel up there, who's missing a couple fingers, and he could he could stand at the end of the saw, and just hold up his hand, like that, and go like, okay, you don't want to, and he's from Hungary, you don't want to be like Uncle Jewel.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
One of the things, because I think the administration has gotten rid of OSHA, or they've defanged it quite considerably at this point. So, we got to kind of look out for ourselves at this point.
Well,
but this is a great program.
This
Fantastic
is
program.
a great program, and what we've been trying to do on Busted Pencils is to make people aware, because it's kind of some of those things now where it's this, what are you going to do after high school? And it's like, if you don't know about these options, people are not going to take them up, and so you're wrestling against two kind of things. There's the culture of, well, if you go to college, you're the smart kids, and if you go to trades, you're not the smart kids. And we're trying to take away that idea of going, everything you do after high school and during high school, this is all education, and it's leading you. And this isn't oh, I didn't go to college, I went to sawmill school. It's like, no, you know what, I went to sawmill school. I learned about artificial intelligence and its implementation in wood cutting, understanding the science of wood. It really isn't. And I said, this story kind of, I think, creates an image in people's heads of people pushing logs through a big bladed saw and cutting them in half and moving on. I think if you paid it, in the show, I said, and you guys remember this, the Waltons, they owned the saw, they owned a sawmill, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was their but that's not the image that we need to put across here. This is a highly skilled, highly educated workforce that is doing this work, and this work is something that you're not going to export overseas. You're not going to do this. I mean, the Northwoods of Wisconsin, the forestry, the lumber industry is there. The idea now too of creating opportunities for people who live in those communities to get a higher education in a form that says, this provides a real economic opportunity to contribute. And I said, what we're fighting against too in a lot of these small rural areas are brain drains that kind of put forward the idea that, if you got to get out of here, you got to get educated, therefore you can go and work and make money once you get out of here. And we're saying, that's not a great message or an exercise if you're trying to actually restore and keep communities healthy. And we want to keep our rural communities healthy and thriving.
Yeah. Well, another thing that you were talking about as well in all of these podcasts is that a lot of these students graduating are really unsure about what to go into next, right?
Right.
And this is part of that problem. At least you get training in school, but if there isn't anything that interested you in high school, then how do you pick where to go next? And we talked about this too. There are fad occupations to get into, maybe temporary occupations. We know technology will advance them into something completely different at one point. So, students are kind of left wondering, what should I do? How do I pick a subject? How do I pick an occupation?
Yeah, well, and that is an issue. We know some kids are, they're not informed, going back to this, making sure that they know that these opportunities are out there to give them a thought of going, I'll try this. The other thing was too, is just to see this program, and this is kind of the work I'm doing here in Pennsylvania. It's a partnership with the University of Wisconsin system. And this idea that, I'm going to be a woodcutter the rest of my life. Actually, you're working with the UW, you're doing this work. You might go out and work for a few years, but you're going to be able to imagine and go, well, you know what, I'm going to come back to UW because I actually want to take more of a passion and really understanding the science of wood, and there's an opportunity. And so that's the other thing is to communicate that this isn't the end. Your trade, your job, it's at the end. This is an educational experience that's going to open you up to some ideas. You're going to do some work, and it may even ignite another passion that you're now able to continue to pursue. And so I think that's the message of higher education is to try to recommend that we're lifelong learners, and that these things that we have out here, these are just options to continue our education. And so when you see industry and higher education working together, such as what's happening in Antigo, understand that what that's really doing is trying to create pathways that allow people an alternative to, hey, you know what, I really like doing this high-tech wood cutting, I'll stay here. Oh, I'm doing this and it's with the University of Wisconsin. I think I'm going to transfer the skill set and the credits that I accumulated at the sawmill to the UW and put it towards a degree. And so it's again, it's just a great story that we need to be talking about every time we see these opportunities.
Yeah, continuing education, big deal. We're talking to Dr. Tim Slekar from Busted Pencils, and Tim, we talked about the lumberjack industry and the wood cutting industry, but also, future opportunities in the dairy industry. We were talking with our friend Pam Yankee, the fabulous farm babe, the other day about automated milking barns,
Right.
that are really way more efficient than the old ways of doing it.
Yeah, you don't have to be there. The machines move up and milk the cows all by themselves. The cows actually know what to do.
Yes. And the cows are actually happier and produce more milk this way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Super technology.
I want to now. That's an app we need to invent. Is the AI app that looks at a cow and says, "This is a good milking cow."
Yes.
Well, we were talking about the shade machine that goes through the fields now, and the cows are underneath the shade machine.
Have you heard about this?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like a plane, big wings with solar panels on it, and it operates the battery operated tractor that moves this truck along very slowly, so the cows can be in the shade during this hot weather.
Nice.
So they're better at milking. They get more milk out of these cooler cows.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like I said, because then we can identify which cows make skim milk, 1% milk,
chocolate milk.
Yeah.
It's all in our future. Tim. Good to talk to you.
Yeah,
have a happy 4th of July weekend.
Have a good one.
Happy 4th. Don't blow off your fingers.
Okay.
No.
Dr. Tim Slekar from Busted Pencils. They drop new podcasts Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. Check them out on the weekend on the Civic Media Radio Network on Saturdays. Back with more after this.
All right, guys.
My apologies for calling you Jim.
No, that's what the other thing that made me a joke with the shaded cows. So we're providing shade for cows, but keep those farm workers out there picking our vegetables in the sun.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Tim.
Bye.
All right.
All right.
What's happening?
Okay, let's go on to
slip in here. Was this drone light show? Okay.
I didn't write this in.
elected president.
No more king.
He's gonna do what the people want.
No more king.
We're gonna run things our way.
No more king. Nobody's gonna tell us what to do. To put it kindly, king, we really don't agree.
No more kings. WMDX. John and Gordy in the morning. A beautiful, beautiful day in Madison.
Highs getting into the mid-80s. A lot of sunshine today. And it's going to heat up for the holiday weekend. Hey, we want to invite you to enter one of our new contests here for Sugar River Pizza. We're doing pizza parties this summer, and you and your office folks could be a part of the pizza parties.
We're going out to your office, and we're going to deliver pizzas and share a slice with each other.
Yes, from Sugar River Pizza. They have 3 locations, Sun Prairie, New Glarus, and Verona. They make the most wonderful pizzas. It's really excellent.
Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah.
Great ingredients, by the way.
If you would like to find out how you and your workplace could be involved with this, just go to our website, WMDXradio.com, and when you see the pizza party from Sugar River Pizza pop up the top of the screen, click on that banner, and you'll find out how you can enter to win a pizza party from Sugar River Pizza and John and Gordy and WMDX. Yeah, and when we bring the pizzas, it'll be a fun time. Won't it, John? We used to do this many years ago. It was great.
It was great to meet a lot of the listeners out there, and people have never listened, just part of the office.
Yeah, who doesn't like pizza?
Yeah, and of course we'll bring along a few goodies.
Bring along the boombox and force people to listen to our show. Pre-recorded, of course, from the podcast.
Yeah, give away a few T-shirts and some other swag that we have.
Oh yeah,
in our prize closet. Okay.
Now let's get to Derek Van Orden. He he signed on to the big bad bill in the House.
What a surprise!
And then when it went to the Senate, it changed a little bit, and then he started panicking because they changed a few things in that big bad bill that would affect Wisconsin rural communities, and Derek is a big supporter of the rural communities. By accident, really, just because he's from there. Anyway, he was begging Governor Evers. He was relying on Governor Evers to sign our budget in the state immediately before the House signs on to the big bad bill sent from the Senate. So you can just keep track of all this stuff. So anyway, I want you to get a little history of this. This is Derek Van Orden saying, oh man, he isn't going to sign on anything that makes cuts to Medicaid and puts those hospitals at risk in the rural communities. Let's listen.
And so far, Republicans are coping with this fundamental, obvious contradiction by just lying to their constituents and just falling in line. Let me give you an example of how this kind of thing works. So Derek Van Orden is a Wisconsin Republican, and he's an interesting case because he represents a true swing district that's also rural in character, okay? And back in March, boy, he got all wound up, and he sounded like he was sticking to his guns on this bill.
I have very, very few hard lines when it comes to these issues that we talk about regularly. One of them is this, and I've been crystal clear with the leadership in the House here. If during this budget reconciliation process, they're going to try to cut rural health care, I am not on board. I will not be on board with a package that if anybody is trying to cut any type of rural health care, it's just not going to happen on my watch.
Well,
So that was his red line back in March. Then 2 months later, he voted to pass a House version of the Trump bill that did exactly what he said he would vote against. Republicans like Van Orden, at some levels, you can see, they understand cuts to health care would be devastating their communities. Crossing Trump would be devastating to their future political prospects. Not to mention it probably involves having to deal with a lot more security, frankly. It's why Republicans have been lying so consistently to their own constituents about just what the bill does.
All right. So
we are not cutting Medicaid. The president has said that, and I've said that. We've all said that.
Let's dump out of this, okay? Just down.
Okay.
All right.
Got it.
So anyway, we know where Derek stands on this thing, so he voted for it anyway. So he sent a memo out to Governor Evers saying the state budget includes an increase to the state provider tax rate, which, by the way, state providers of health care in the state contribute a little bit of money to Medicaid in order to pay for all of these things that are going on in the state, the rural hospitals and the care that they get. And that is going away under the new bill, the big bad bill in Congress right now. That goes away for some states, but there is an exemption, and that is that the states that did not sign on to expanded Medicaid get to keep whatever form of tax they have on these healthcare providers. So it's a Medicaid expansion state that can't do that, but Wisconsin isn't part of that. So there's this, they allow 6% to remain untouched in this new bill. But Wisconsin has a 1.7% tax rate that goes to help Medicaid pay for all of the services that they provide.
Okay.
So anyway, he says, pass this bill in the state so we can keep I think they're increasing this from 1.7 to 6% in the state budget. I'm not sure. I'd have to check on that.
Okay.
But anyway, he's begging the governor to sign it. Well, the governor signed it.
Yeah.
So now we're all safe and ready to go. But he was panicking. He wanted the governor, a Democratic governor, to bail his ass out. That's my point. I'm bottom lining it here.
Whew, that was a long explanation.
I know.
I had to diagram that out.
It says
I'm still confused.
Wisconsin's provider tax rate has not been updated for a long time, and the big, beautiful bill will allow non-Medicaid expansion states like Wisconsin with provider tax rates to remain untouched. So he wanted to make sure that we still had that tax to support those rural hospitals. And Governor Evers went along with it and helped them out. That's what we do. We help those Republicans out.
Yes, they need all the help they can get. Okay. 6:59. In our next hour, we'll talk to Jim Santelle, attorney at law, find out the latest at the Supreme Court level and local issues as well. And a special surprise guest sometime in the 7 o'clock hour.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Hi, what's up?
Don Peterson.
Gordy!
Young.
The Stone Age didn't end because of a shortage of stones.
So how do you say croissant in French?
Go yourself.
You are correct, sir.
Here they are. It's John and Gordy.
Just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
Yes. Good morning.
WMDX, John and Gordy in the morning. Wow. So many things are going on today. It's just ridiculous. I mean, the state passed their budget. We have Hakeem Jeffries just out there on the floor of the House, wasting a lot of time making people shift in their seats, wondering what's going to happen next. If this passes, then a lot of really bad things are going to happen in this country.
Yeah. And also the Wisconsin State Supreme Court decision. Mentioned that.
Yes, absolutely. Allowing abortions in this state. And these are laws that were passed by mostly Scott Walker and the administration at that time, putting limitations in and requirements that were unnecessary, medically unnecessary. But because of those laws, it kind of did away with the constitutional amendment banning abortions because we kept adding new laws on it which supersede, and that's what the Supreme Court decided in the end was, well, we have new laws that deal with this, and we're going to go with those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to Jim Santelle a little bit later on, attorney
and
at
get
law.
his opinion on that. But, I think the law should have just been abandoned anyway because women didn't have a right to vote at that time.
Well,
just on that basis alone, I think they should have at least rejected it. But
also,
just me.
We'll have a special surprise guest a little bit later on today. And this portion of the show brought to you by Verlo Mattress. Wake up and sleep better on a Verlo mattress. A lot has changed since 1958 when they opened their doors, but some things have remained constant throughout Verlo's history. They're still direct-to-consumer, providing superior products at unbeatable prices. 2 locations in Madison, East Side and West Side. Go to Verlo.com. We've got sunshine today, highs in the mid-80s this afternoon. Looks like it's going to be hot through the holiday weekend. So if you're heading out there, plan accordingly.
Oh, yeah.
Be safe this holiday weekend.
Yes, be safe.
Okay.
All right. Now we're going to get to Justice Rebecca Bradley's reaction to the abortion law by the liberal justices in just a few moments. I just have to add this first because this is insane, right? What? They're trying to pass this big bad bill now in the House again.
Yeah.
But according to 3 sources with direct knowledge of the comments that Trump made recently to a bunch of Republicans at a certain meeting, apparently he is unaware that Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security are being tampered with. They were kind of surprised and shocked. At one point, one of the Republicans in attendance piped up and reminded Trump, but we're touching Medicaid in this bill. He didn't know that.
Well, that's what they're saying. He didn't know that. Really?
He doesn't know that.
He doesn't know that. He's
been
completely
saying all along.
clueless.
He said, we're not touching it. We're not touching it. He kept saying it, and no one has corrected him. They finally did correct him, but that hasn't changed what he's still saying. So, now it's a big surprise.
Oh, boy.
And by the way, they're all going to deny they knew anything about touching Medicaid.
Oh, boy.
Right? As people drop off and more people become uninsured at this point. But let's get to Justice Rebecca Bradley is running for re-election next year, and she came out very strongly against the decision to allow abortion in Wisconsin. She called the majority opinion, setting aside the 1849 abortion law, a parody of progressive politics, which doesn't sound very legal to me. It sounded a little more political, I think. What do you think?
Parody of political what?
A parody of progressive politics.
Okay.
But it is an unhinged political rant, basically, and it's devoid of substance. So why don't we just check out what she has said here? This is, in her opinion, the liberal majority not only does violence to a single statute, it defies the people's sovereignty. Huh? What? And what does that mean exactly? And remember, again, in 1849, women didn't have the right to vote at that time. And now, because of the new laws, the 20-week cutoff point, and all the other things that Scott Walker decided to throw in that weren't medically necessary, because of that, it made the 1849 law obsolete. So that's what the liberal justices decided. So, challenge. Now, here, let's try and find out if there's any legal opinion in any of what Justice Bradley is saying here, okay? Chief Justice Jill Karofsky rewrites history, erases and insults women by referring to mothers as pregnant people. Again, that's not a political opinion. That's her point of view. Slanders proponents of the pro-life perspective. Well, that's not a legal opinion either. That's a pro-life group that has nothing to do with this. And broadcasts dangerously false narratives about laws restricting abortion, laden with emotion, steeped in myth, and light on law. The concurrence reads as a parody of progressive politics rather than the opinion of a jurist. My goodness sakes.
What?
Can you imagine what she must have thought when the justices at the national Supreme Court level gave Trump immunity out of the clear blue sky, right? It's not in the Constitution, but they decided to do that anyway. Okay, so Justice candidate and appeals court judge Chris Taylor, who's running against her, noticed that she said this: Rebecca Bradley's dissent constitutes an unhinged political rant devoid of reasoned legal analysis, using politically charged language unsuited for any judge, let alone a Supreme Court justice. Rebecca Bradley continues to be more concerned with forcing her own right-wing agenda onto the people of our state than protecting our most basic constitutional rights and freedoms.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a strong statement against Rebecca Bradley.
Yes.
Normally, she wouldn't have said that. I mean, she's a circuit appeals court judge, Chris Taylor. She used to be in the legislature as well. So I want to give you a little history of Rebecca Bradley. Again, you heard her comments as I read them. No legal opinion whatsoever. Let's listen to her appearance way back when she was running for the Supreme Court on Mike Goucher's Upfront program, and this is her being interviewed by Mike Goucher. Listen.
But your critics take note of the fact that you were once a member of the Republican National Lawyers Association. And if you go to their website, you see them talk about the goal of advancing Republican ideals. And quoting from their website, it says the RNLA further builds the Republican Party's goals and ideals through a nationwide network of supportive lawyers who understand and directly support Republican policy agendas and candidates. So you say you're going to be free of political agendas, but you belonged at one time to a group that promotes a political agenda. How can you tell people that you will be impartial given that?
Well, when I became a judge, I set aside all of my political inclinations, and that was in the past. As a jurist, I do not belong to any political party, and the principles that I apply to the laws that I have to apply and in my decision making are the same principles whether it's a Democratic legislature or a Republican legislature that has enacted the law. And I'm very able to set aside, again, my personal beliefs and my political inclinations. We all have them, but the job of a judge, the duty of a judge, is to set all of that aside, and I have a record of doing that.
Set it aside. I'm sure she did that. You can tell from this next cut that she set all of that stuff aside. Let's listen to her little rant about the tyrants during COVID. Listen.
Which reads in part that all people have certain inherent rights. Among these are, I'd like to direct your attention to Article 1, Section 1 of the Wisconsin Constitution, which reads in part that all people have certain inherent rights. Among these are liberty. To secure these rights, governments are instituted, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. My question for you is, where in the Constitution did the people of Wisconsin confer authority on a single unelected cabinet secretary to compel almost 6 million people to stay at home and close their businesses and face imprisonment if they don't comply, with no input from the legislature, without the consent of the people? Isn't it the very definition of tyranny for one person to order people to be imprisoned for going to work, among other ordinarily lawful activities? Where does the Constitution say that's permissible, counsel?
The Constitution provides that the legislature may enact statutes to protect the public health. And that is exactly what the legislature has done in Chapter 252.02, sub 3, 4, and 6. So I think that expression of legislative intent that grants DHS the power to do whatever is necessary to combat a novel, deadly, communicable disease like the one we're facing today is where we find that consent.
I'll direct your attention to another time in history in the Korematsu decision, where the court said the need for action was great and time was short. And that justified, and I'm quoting, assembling together and placing under guard all those of Japanese ancestry in assembly centers during World War II. Could the secretary, under this broad delegation of legislative power or legislative-like power, order people out of their homes into centers where they are properly socially distanced in order to combat the pandemic?
Your Honor, Korematsu was an equal protection challenge to the action that the government took to address the crisis. This is not a substantive constitutional challenge to what DHS has done. This is
that is not a good comparison, right? I mean, we're talking about the Department of Health making a decision to protect human life in this country or in this state in this particular instance. And it had nothing to do with, rounding up Japanese people and putting them in camps. See, she made that comparison in some weird way, and it should never have happened.
Right.
So then we had a recent election for the Supreme Court justice, and Justice Crawford got elected in, and Justice Bradley decided to chime in and say some really nasty things that had nothing to do with the law or any legal issues. Let's listen to this.
I'm really personally and professionally disappointed that Judge Schimmel lost to Judge Crawford. I think it's going to result in terrible consequences for the state of Wisconsin and for the state of the judiciary. My four colleagues have politicized our court in a terrible manner. They make political decisions all the time. They rule 100% for the Democratic Party in every case that's presented to them. We had an opportunity to return the court to what it should be, which is deciding cases under the law. And unfortunately, we're simply going to see more politicization of the judiciary. I also think the way Judge Crawford ran her race was disgusting. She slandered a good man, Judge Schimmel. We saw this last time against Justice Kelly. It's really sickening. And I hope next time the people will see through the lies that misportray good people in these ads.
All right. So again, certainly no legal issue there. It's just, the court should have been under the jurisdiction of conservatives. I mean, they're the ones who should be running the court, apparently, according to at least Rebecca Bradley, who is the worst, by the way, the worst justice we've ever had on our Supreme Court ever.
In your opinion?
No, I know I'm right on this.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
We'll go with that.
All right. Yeah, I'm not mincing words here.
It is 19 minutes past the hour, and coming up a little bit later, in fact, right around the corner, we'll talk to Jim Santelle, attorney at law. Get the latest from him.
And wait till you hear this.
Yeah.
Trump is already planning for next year's big celebration of the country, 250 years. Yeah. Oh, you won't believe what they've got planned.
Not sure I want to know. Okay. 19 past, coming right back with John and Gordy in the morning.
103.7. Check us out on the Civic Media app as well, and text us or voice note us. We'd love to hear from you.
Mm-hmm. Happy Thursday. It's beautiful this morning. Lots of sunshine through the day. Highs in the mid-80s. This portion of John and Gordy in the morning brought to you by Madison Hearing Aid Center, 4706 Cottage Grove Road in Madison. Check out their excellent website, MadisonHearingAidCenter.com. You can take a hearing test there to get you started, and then Jim and Sarah will take your appointments. They are helping people change their lives through not just selling hearing aids, improving their quality of life through better hearing. That's what it's all about. MadisonHearingAidCenter.com. Again, they're at 4706 Cottage Grove Road in Madison.
All right. We've got 75 degrees right now, 89 predicted high. Kind of a warm day, humid, and high dew points. Yikes.
Oh,
Help us out.
You go ahead.
Well, we were talking about Rebecca Bradley, and we got a text here from Donna out in DeForest saying, Judge Becky B sounds like she needs a calm, relaxing retirement ASAP.
Yeah, maybe it's time.
If she hates working with these liberals on the corner, why not just retire?
Just
why be a part of it? You know?
Yeah. 608-879-8255. That's our number. We got a couple of calls waiting here.
Let's go to the phone lines right now. Mark is on the line. What do you got for us, Mark?
Good morning, Mark.
Yeah. Rebecca Bradley was, about bringing up the whole COVID thing. What was her position on? They had to imprison Typhoid Mary because she refused to, because she was spreading typhus at that point in time. Yes, it was horrible that she had to be isolated from the community, but that was a way to protect the community, and that's what the whole COVID restrictions were doing. And for her talking about Korematsu, and the internment of the Japanese
Ridiculous,
Americans,
isn't it?
Yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah.
But I don't hear her out there howling about Donald Trump, setting up his alligator Alcatraz. So I haven't heard her screaming about that, saying how horrible that is, because she's not going to do it, because those are disgusting brown people that he thinks should be, I don't think have any rights at all. I mean, these are persons under the law. I don't hear her complaining about all the snatching up of people off the streets, which are clear without warrant, which is clearly a violation of the Constitution. That a warrant is required to seize any person. I mean, it's pure and simple in there. And that, what are you saying? Well, they're not persons because they're not citizens. Well, no, the Constitution says person. It doesn't make that distinction.
Yep.
All right, Mark, thanks for that. We've got to kind of move along here. We've got a big event coming up next year, and Trump is talking about, by the way, ICE agents aren't elected either.
Right.
That whole department isn't elected.
Yeah.
And they're making decisions to deport people.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
All right, Rebecca, explain that one. All right. Anyway, this is a big event. It's called the Big 250. 250 years. It celebrates the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, and Trump is expecting to make big plans for that. This is from NPR. Check it out.
What is America 250?
So some of our listeners might recall the bicentennial celebrating the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and America's putting its party hat on again for the 250th anniversary. The organizers are planning something ambitious.
The most inspiring celebration this country has ever seen, and perhaps the world has ever seen. But there's also now a White House planning group, is that right?
Yes, so Rosie Rios' group, that's the America 250 Commission, and then there's something called Task Force 250. Now, the Commission has been doing a bunch of its own programming for the past couple of years, but right now, its website seems to be prioritizing events led by the White House over its own tentpole initiatives. For example, there's the America 250 kickoff celebration you mentioned, where Trump is expected to announce plans for a Great America State Fair in 2026 and a federally backed Patriot Games highlighting American sports. Well, every state and many cities are going to organize events over the next year. Some very local programming is going to happen. For example, in Idaho, there's this display of giant fabric potatoes dressed up like Revolutionary War figures. Yeah, so lots of American quirkiness.
Okay.
Yeah, but at the national level, there are ongoing initiatives like, for example, America's field trip. 150 school kids are part of this. They get to go on these all expenses paid visits to famous landmarks. Also, there's Trump's National Garden of American Heroes. That's a proposed sculpture park. There's going to be 250 statues of American figures like George Washington, Babe Ruth, and Martin Luther King.
Trump.
I should also note that at the national level, plans are in flux. For example, an online portal for a big project launched 2 years ago called America's Invitation, which was inviting the public to upload messages expressing their hopes and dreams for the future of the country. That whole project seems to have vanished from the America 250 website. That happened a few weeks ago. I wrote to the America 250 Commission press team, and they told NPR the initiative is now, quote, taking a back seat to other things.
Chloe, the whole time you've been talking, I've been thinking about an administration that says it wants to cut funding. So how is this big American party being funded?
It's a mixed bag. The organizers are seeking $150 million from Congress. They've secured sponsorships from Coca-Cola, Lockheed Martin, and other corporations. Plus, the White House has redirected thousands of federal grants previously awarded to arts and humanities nonprofits to 250th celebration projects. For example, the National Garden of American Heroes.
National Garden of American Heroes.
It's a big spag.
That is outrageous. I mean, and plus, actually having something called Patriot Games.
What?
I mean, have you watched the movie?
Have you seen the movie? Yeah. Oh my God.
Wow.
Really?
Oh, that's on the books. Yeah, they're planning that. And and by the way, the Great American State Fair. They used to call them like World's Fairs in this country.
Right, yes.
Or it could be a national state fair, but a state fair? Oh, my God.
These make any sense at all.
And they're directing, all this money.
Yeah.
They're taking away all this health care from rural America, and they're going to spend it on
their big 250
celebration.
Yeah, a year from now.
Crazy
boy, oh, boy. Oh, my gosh.
All right, Dick.
We'll have to get to your call
If
later.
you can hold on, we're going to have Jim Santelle in the as well. We're not in the studio, but we'll be talking to him in just a few moments as well.
Stay with us for more of John and Gordy after this.
Hello, Jim.
Morning, Jim.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you today?
Real good.
Yeah,
right.
Getting ready for a 3-day weekend for us.
It's a jam-packed show, man, I'll tell you.
For what it's worth, I just threw some things in the notes there, but, not to revisit Rebecca Bradley. Maybe you're done with her today, as we all should be. But, for what it's worth, John Roberts has, in speeches, he drops footnotes and things saying, just to be clear, Korematsu badly decided no longer the law. And, this is our John Roberts, but also hers, right? So
yeah,
it's just craziness. I know it's a small point, but
she's a very, it's great. I think we should bring that up, but you don't, I hope you don't mind it. We've got,
are you there?
Hey, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tom,
he's
throw
got
your
a
microphone.
We have a call we're going to take. Okay. Before we go on.
A quick call.
Yeah. From Dick. Let's see here. And a voice note. Do you know about voice notes, Jim?
Boy, I should probably. I'm not on the cutting edge of technology now, huh?
Yeah, you can send somebody instead of a text, a voice note.
On our Civic Media app, there's a button on that app now that says voice note, and
but
people can send voice notes.
If you're texting people, there's a little thing in the right corner that allows you to. It's a microphone, and you hit the microphone, you make your text, and send it.
This is why you work for Civic Media. They're on the cutting edge of everything cool and wonderful, right?
I know. I didn't know this, and we're told by Catherine at least that this is like a major trend. The kids are using it all the time.
All
now.
the kids are.
Yeah.
And we're kids too, right?
Well, we'd like to keep it alive and well inside of us. But boy, these times are trying.
Just as long as it. Does it transcribe what you say and transmits it into text?
No, it records. It records what you're saying. It also, by the way, it transcribes it, so a person can actually read it sometimes.
You can read it ahead of time on your
But you can listen
screen.
to it.
But yes, you can actually hear the audio and play it.
Well, it says none on our screen here. See, but apparently there's something on
Somebody
it.
may have.
Yeah. So, let's see here. All right.
Okay. So Dick, we don't have Dick on the line anymore.
Dick is gone.
He's got to move
All
on.
right, let's go to the voice note.
Yeah.
I got to brighten my screen. Oh, I couldn't see a thing on it. Issuing last time.
All right, I'm going to turn you guys off.
Okay.
WMDX, John and Gordy in the morning, 92.7, and you can always voice note us from our app, and you can also text us and give us a call as well.
Mm-hmm. Seeing a lot of sunshine this morning. It'll stick with us through most of the day. The high near 86 by late this afternoon. This portion of the show brought to you by Verlo Mattress. You can wake up and sleep better on a Verlo mattress. A lot has changed since 1958 when they started up, but some things remain constant throughout their history. Still, they are direct to consumer with providing superior products at unbeatable prices. Verlo Mattress, 2 locations in Madison, East Side, West Side. Go to Verlo.com for more information.
And they've got those adjustable bed frames as well. You can't.
No, you love the adjustable bed frames. Go in there about once a week, just checking them out. Yeah.
Madison is going to be sleeping in comfort, knowing that they took my advice. All right, we got a voice note. Right, we got a voice note.
We do have a voice note. Let's listen to it.
All right.
Okay.
John and Gordy should keep their yaps shut and join the manosphere.
There we
That almost sounded like AI.
Straight to the point. I think it was. I don't know what that was.
Wow.
Well, okay.
Hey, we want to mention tomorrow, we tape the show in advance because it's 4th of July weekend, so we get a day off here and getting away early. But we will be having the free ticket Friday. There'll be Brewers tickets up for grabs tomorrow. So the contest continues. Okay.
Okay.
And we've got another contest that involves Brewer tickets, the Brewers-Cubs game on July 29th. We're going to tell you more about this next week, but you could be going to that Cubs game with John and Gordy.
Well, I don't know if you'd want to
sit
go
with
now.
us. Yeah, well, it'll be a lot of fun. You can sit right next to us, Beautiful seats, club level seats. That's the July 29th games. And Cubs Brewers. I'm a big Cubs fan. I grew up near Chicago.
I just want to award
big Cubs fan.
Well,
You're a Brewers fan.
I think awarding them these tickets is not exactly an award. And by the way, I spill a lot of beer when I'm out at the game.
Well, we're going to provide not only the tickets, but we'll be providing food and drinks to those big winners. So we'll tell you more about that as we get into it.
Well, our special guest this part of the hour is Jim Santelle, Amicus Law Review. You can listen to the program on Saturday mornings between 9 and 11 o'clock. And, man, you have been awful busy, Jim. A lot of stuff trying to explain. There's so many court decisions. But let's get to the one that's more local from the state Supreme Court in regards to the abortion ban that was in place for a while. Explain the decision from the Supreme Court, liberals of the Supreme Court justice, as Rebecca Bradley would refer to it. Boy, she's pretty bad. I explain that she is the worst justice we have on the court. But, Michael Gableman was pretty bad, too, who lost his license, didn't he?
He is in various forms of trouble, right? It's called contempt. Yeah. It's lying to the court, misrepresenting, all kinds of things that lawyers and judges generally, here's your advice for the morning, anybody out there, probably should not do. Generally a bad idea to go down those roads. So, yeah.
But, explain what the thinking was by the Supreme Court in doing away with the 1849 law.
All right, so you've got this 1849 law, and the Supreme Court says basically it's so old that many other things have happened in the interim. Here's what the majority says: comprehensive legislation in this area with respect to reproductive rights and abortion over the last 50 years, regulating in detail the who, what, where, when, and how abortion so thoroughly covers the entire subject that it was meant as a substitute for the 19th century near total ban. Basically, so many things have happened legislatively that time. Yeah. It's no longer law. Goes on to say that the court has historically set a very high bar for those, implied repeal. But in this case, the legislature had met that bar by reversing state law on abortion. Goes on to say these statutes specify, often in extraordinary detail, this is Rebecca Dallett writing on behalf of the majority, the answer to nearly every conceivable question. Who may perform abortions? Only doctors. Where may abortions be performed? Within 30 miles of a hospital where the doctor has admitting privileges. When may abortions be performed? Prior to viability or 20 weeks of pregnancy, and goes on and on. Bottom line is so much specificity and so much legislation since 1849 that it's she doesn't say it's laughable, but that notion that somehow the 1849 law is still in effect, plainly been superseded, overcome, overtaken by everything since then.
Well, we have to think about sovereignty, Rebecca Bradley said. So many things have changed, and for some reason, the Republicans put a lot of these restrictions in place, so they were superseding this law all along. So they actually precipitated this change. Right?
Absolutely. To the extent that any legislator, again, since 1849 has been a part of this, going down that road implicitly, if not explicitly saying, hey, the 1849 law, not good anymore. And frankly, this doesn't happen all the time. But as you know, legislatures, state legislatures, the federal legislature routinely comes in and updates the law. Why? Because the world changes, does it not? And life changes, and the world in which we live needs to reflect that. That's a good judiciary. That's not so-called wild activist judges. Those are people who are interpreting the Constitution as it should in contemporary common sense understandings.
That's right. And at least one conservative justice voted with the liberals. So that kind of worked out well for us anyway. And now we have this standard in place. And now we can move on to other things, including a decision to ban national injunctions, essentially.
Right.
I can't even understand how this is even possible. Look, we're the United States, right? If you break something in the Constitution, it should be called out and it should be stopped nationwide. Am I crazy? Or what's going on?
You are not crazy, and there are at least, unfortunately, John, there are only 3 justices of the Supreme Court who agree with you.
Gordy disagrees. I know.
I think you are crazy, but you have a point this time around. Go ahead.
Thank you.
And you are in the good company of people like Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan and Ketanji Brown Jackson, who looked at this and predicted an awful lot of bad things when it comes to the courts. It is a bit wonky. I understand that. But that's the notion. You pointed out exactly how this plays out. If there is something that's happening, whether it's in western Wisconsin, where you are in Madison, eastern Wisconsin, where I am, any district around the country, I come in and I say something about, for example, let's pick something other than birthright citizenship. Let's talk, for example, about First Amendment rights. Suppose somebody comes in and says, a president comes in and says, I'm going to ban the exercise of religion or a specific religion in America. Or, for example, go to the Second Amendment. I am going to ban all guns in America. We know that those things are patently unconstitutional. What the Supreme Court says, you can't do that anymore. What you need to do is you need to go to an individual judge in your district and get your specific right in that venue vindicated. The judge will probably say it's unconstitutional, but that notion that it would apply across the board in a plainly applicable way, that's what the Supreme Court, the majority, again, Amy Coney Barrett writing this opinion, and that's what they said. What I was hoping that they would do, this is what came out of the oral argument. She was talking about a rule that basically says, there may be those things that are regional, that are local, that apply just to the 3 or 4 of us, that sort of thing. And you enjoin that, plainly that continues, and maybe even broader than that as to a particular district. But there are these big ticket items that perhaps we can, in fact, embrace. They're subject to appeal, and dividing a rule for the lower district court judges about what kinds of topics, big ticket items, can in fact be nationally enjoined and which ones are more regional. She decided not to do that, instead just said, we're done with that. Horrific consequences, not just for birthright citizenship, but for many other things you can imagine happening, not only for this presidency, but if, again, assuming we have future presidents, that future presidents may also do of all sides of the aisle, right?
Well, I hope we do have future presidents somewhere along the way.
Well, tough to tell if that's going to happen now.
But Jim, all of this stuff, it seems like the Supreme Court can't make a decision about anything. They put on hold abortion laws in Texas, and it allowed people to go out and turn people in that they suspect to have had an abortion or is planning an abortion. They create more chaos with their decisions than anything else.
Absolutely. And so let's get back to birthright citizenship, which is where this started. How wonderful it would be if a majority, frankly, if all of our Supreme Court justices had simply said, you know what, when the 14th Amendment was passed, 1869, it meant what it said and said what it meant. If you're born here geographically, you're a citizen. You may not like that, but that's what the Constitution says. Yes, and it's applied across. The Supreme Court has said that, frankly, in a major case coming out of the Ninth Circuit a number of years ago. But how clean that would have been. Just say that, right? And say the president's directive, this order, is wrong, and move on. And we don't get all this collateral stuff that mucks up the way that things happen and that provide us with lack of clarity on the underlying issue. That's the challenge.
Yeah. Now, we had a decision on the Affordable Care Act as well, and that was a decision where people can get examinations for free. Somebody was challenging that, didn't want his money, his corporation's money, to go pay for other people's preventive medicine.
Exactly, and that's the big word. It's all about prevention. It's in the Affordable Care Act, and basically, again, to get a bit in the weeds, the Affordable Care Act establishes some task forces. They're staffed by who? People who know what they're talking about, medical doctors and healthcare professionals, all kinds of folks. And they look at the kinds of preventive healthcare that make sense. So, for example, diabetes screening, cancer screening, all kinds of things that keep you from getting ill, right? And if indeed those are adopted as being appropriate preventive cares that can be provided, they are covered, and they're covered for insurance companies under the Affordable Care Act. The Supreme Court looked at that and said yes, had to do with whether or not the task force members are properly appointed, whether they've got the authority to do what they're doing. In the end, thankfully, the Supreme Court said yes, indeed, by a vote of 6-3, a different combination of 6-3, they can stand. So the Affordable Care Act does survive this term of the Supreme Court, as it has done in previous years.
Big victory.
Talking to Jim Santelle, attorney at law, Amicus Law Review. You can hear it every Saturday on the Civic Media Radio Network. Jim, what is this about parental veto of grade school curriculum? This I have not heard much about.
Yeah,
What's going on there?
It's a big one just because of the first for the immediate issue, but for the consequences as well. This comes out of Maryland. Again, lots of facts here, lots of history here, but Maryland School District basically had said and provided parents with a mechanism for parents to opt out if, based upon their religious beliefs, they did not want their school-age children to be exposed to storybooks that talked about somebody having two dads and LGBT issues and those kinds of things. In the end, the school district said this is way too difficult to administer, too much craziness in all this. And so they said, no more opting out. Supreme Court said you can't do that. You've got to permit parents to opt out. That's now the law in Maryland and presumably in other areas. And so the concern there is I wake up in the morning and say my religion tells me that, I don't want my child exposed to a situation where a mother would be working in the real workplace. Can I opt out for that? All sorts of consequences from that opt-out process.
Yeah, that's crazy stuff. Well, the consequences, we'll find out how that all plays out in the future. In future cases as well. Jim, we got to take a break here and we got to say goodbye. We've got a special guest coming up in our next break. So appreciate your input on this and we'll have you back next week.
Happy Independence Day. 249 years. 249 years. Celebrate, right?
Celebrate,
yes. We are.
Jim Santelle,
all right.
Amicus Law Review every weekend on the Civic Media Radio Network. Coming back with a surprise guest next.
All right, Jim, we're actually going to talk to Sam. Oh, can't hear us.
Jim?
I can hear you. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Can we hang on to Jim on StreamYard and talk to Sam?
Do you want to listen to Sam?
I would be delighted to listen to Sam, of course.
let me get Sam on the phone.
And throw your 2 cents in if you want.
Sure,
Jim.
sure.
Okay, because I know you worked with him.
I think he's calling right now.
Yeah, I know.
You worked with him a few times, right?
Absolutely.
Here, let's do this. Catherine can chime in as well.
See how his camp life is going, as a camp leader. Oh,
hey,
God.
I am. How's it going? Can you hear me? Okay, sweet. Awesome. I'm going to put you on with them a couple minutes before we start, all right?
Okay.
Since he's a camp counselor, he's probably drinking an awful lot, too, so... I always felt like maybe they were a little high when I went to camp.
We got Sam. Sam, can you hear us?
No, he can't hear us.
Sam?
Can you...
Oh, he's on the phone. We can't hear. We can't talk to him that way.
Okay. Just make sure he's there.
Yeah, he's there.
Okay. Yeah, we can't do a pre-talk with him.
So I can't ask him about whether he's making lots of lanyards, right?
Yes, you
always make it camp, right, for your mom.
You can ask anything you want.
You can ask, definitely.
Grill him.
You know what? Ask him that because that traumatized me. We were making glass. You get the broken glass and you stick it onto jars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What is that? Mosaic. Yeah, we were doing mosaics.
Can you hear me again or no?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Hey, Sam. All right. Dom, make sure Catherine's mic is up as well.
Yep, she's on. Okay. There we go. All right.
Dom, you're doing fabulous. Sam, Dom is kicking your ass.
Look at this.
Ton of ups and
We got
downs.
everybody here.
Yep.
Wow, this is going to be something.
Can I make a little joke before you get going? Like, I'm not that special a guest. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to turn you guys off now. We got about a minute.
Thank you.
kids, there it is, Capital City.
It's a big day in Capital City, that's for sure, with John and Gordy in the morning.
There's a swinging town I know called Capital City.
This is WMDX, John and Gordy, and
stop and scream.
We have a special,
we have a very special guest.
surprise guest.
I'm not that big a deal. Why
Oh.
would you promote me just stopping in the studio like I do every day? I'm not special.
Actually, Catherine,
it's not
we're
about it's not about you.
We're not talking about you. Sorry.
Never mind.
All right.
And Jim Santelle is still with us.
Yes.
And of course, Dom, our producer. And let's go to our special guest who's on the phone line right now.
Let's gang up on him.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
It's our former producer, Sam Davison.
You have Sam Davison?
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Sam. Where
How
are
you
you and
guys
what
doing?
are you? Well, we're doing okay, but where are you and what are you doing now? You're at camp, right?
I'm a little north of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, at Tasoma Scout Camp right now.
Wow.
And tell everybody what you're doing up there.
Are you scouting boys up there? Is
Stop
that
it.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, John. No. Well, what I'm doing this summer, we've got a new building that kind of combined our camp store and like the business and technology center. So I'm running that building. I'm slinging slushy to the kids as they got to get their sugar high.
Cool.
A lot of fun stuff happening up here.
Oh yeah. Do you spike some of that slushy sometimes when the kids are asleep?
You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Well, I think you would like it.
Oh yeah, you're right. Give me a little break here.
Yeah.
I remember being in camp when I was a kid and going to sleep and waking up about 5 seconds later. I remember the feeling of all that fresh air and all the activity, and you put us down in our tents, and then poof, you're awake again.
Yeah,
out like a light, and then
Seriously.
the next day already.
Yeah.
How many kids are up there with you?
Yeah.
Well, the reason I didn't call you last week is because it was our biggest one of the summer, and I was just so tired. But this one is our smallest of the summer, actually. We've got something around 200 people here
my
this
God.
week.
That's just a little?
That's a smaller
How many
group.
counselors?
Yikes.
How many counselors? There's, I don't know, probably
200?
60 or 70.
Oh, okay.
60 or yeah, but that's spread across like this camp, and then there's one at the south end of the lake for little kids. But during the week, they help us out. They just have stuff going on the weekends.
That's a lot of kids to wrangle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun. You have like projects. Jim, you have a question for him.
I do. Sam, it's Jim. Great to hear from you. Glad to hear things going well. So my questions are two. Number one, are you working on lanyards, the infamous lanyards that every summer camper's got to put together for his or her mom? I'm assuming those are part of your assignment there.
They're not actually. I gotta start getting lanyards together.
Absolutely.
And your second question, Counselor?
My second question is just about food. Beyond the slushy stuff, how's the food? What kinds of things are we consuming at camp these days?
Good question. Yeah.
Well, I'm probably eating better than I was living on my own in Madison. But a lot of it is like food that kids would like corn dogs and chicken nuggets and stuff like that. So I'm warming up to it. Let's say that.
Yeah.
When I was a Girl Scout, once again, Bunsen burners, making my own meals in camp.
Oh my God.
Burners.
Yes, Bunsen's yes.
What?
Cooking my own damn food over a Bunsen burner.
Did they know you were doing this?
No, yes, it was a thing.
Well, we used to have variety packs of cereal.
Yes,
you know?
yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that was bad stuff.
So there are a lot of physical activities up there. You have swimming and, do you do races? Or
Olympic
kind of-
week or something like that?
Yeah, I'm sitting right in front of the lake right now. Today was sort of my morning off, but I got up early-ish anyway to call you guys. I'm sitting in front of the lake. There's a field that kids can run around in.
Did you bring your styrofoam boat up there with you?
I did. I brought it up last weekend.
Oh, no.
Styrofoam sailboat. Okay. What's the name of the lake again?
It's Crystal Lake.
Oh,
that's
okay, sure.
beautiful.
Sure.
What's the name of the boat? That's the name.
Oh, yeah. Do you have a name for the boat?
don't. I
You
should
can
come up with
stencil something on the back of that
I don't
styrofoam.
know. I don't know.
If I like christen it and try and hit it with a wine bottle, I'll just put a dent in it or break it.
That's true.
Well, yeah, you've got the spray can of paint. I mean, you could always name it very easily and quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, how about,
We got a question
Yeah,
from one of
from
our
Donna.
listeners. Donna says, "Good to hear from Sam again. Mosquitoes just seem to be erupting the last few days in
Yes.
Madison. Have they hit the north yet there too?"
Yeah.
You know, when I first got up here, they were kind of bad, but I think I've gotten acclimated to them at this point. We've come to terms. I leave them alone, and they leave me alone.
Oh, yeah, right. I'm sure that's
You're not
that's an
smacking
agreement.
them off. You're just blowing them off, right? I got you.
Yeah.
So what's the deal? You're up there all summer?
This is week 2 of 7, and then we got a little bit of cleanup after that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be back in Madison mid-August sometime.
And every week, Sam, is a different group of campers, yes? They come in on,
That's
Sunday,
right,
Monday?
yep.
Every week. Wow.
Boy, that's crazy.
They come in Sunday afternoon, and they leave Saturday morning.
Wow.
And they graduate, and you give them certificates of completion along with their lanyards, right? Which is going to be a part of the future curriculum.
Dom, any question from the producer corner over there?
Seriously.
Anything?
Sam, how am I doing? How am I doing,
That's
Sam?
a good question.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. I texted you probably like a month ago now when I went to go get this pinball machine. That was the last time I actually listened to the show before this morning.
That's right.
But I listened to all of hour 2 thus far today, and you're doing great, Dom.
Oh man, Sam, it's due to you. I appreciate you, Sam.
Good training.
Appreciate you. Good training.
Well, good deal, Sam.
Don't say anything about the talk show hosts, though, okay? Whatever you do.
don't
talk about
yeah, they need some work.
Oh, yeah, they need
okay.
some
Okay. Well, Sam, great to hear from you. And, have a good time the rest of the summer and check in again, okay?
Will
Please?
do. Will do.
All right. Yeah,
Thanks,
we
Sam.
miss you. But, yeah. Not that much.
It's okay.
I'm
Dom's kicking ass.
kidding.
He really
I
is.
want to know how the
Okay, hung
pinball
up now.
machine went.
Well,
you know?
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Sam, thank you again, and have a good summer up there. That is going to do
Jim?
it. Jim Santelle, thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Catherine.
Happy Independence Day, everybody.
Dom.
Yeah, you too.
John.
Happy Independence Day.
Everybody have
Have
a
a great
good and
weekend.
safe 4th of July
3-day
holiday weekend.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you with a new show on Monday. We have a best of show tomorrow. Have a great weekend. Happy 4th of July.
And we'll see you later.
Yeah. So. Hang on. Jim, thank you. Thank you for hanging on and talking to
Always
Sam
a
with
pleasure.
us.
That was great fun. And Billy Collins has a great poem called "The Lanyard." It's wonderful. It's light. It's wistful. And so, how about giving your mom this thing that you think, when you're 8 years old, is the biggest gift you can possibly give to her, and she acknowledges it just so. Anyway, Billy Collins, "The Lanyard." I commend it to you very strongly.
Okay.
Happy
I
4th of July,
wish we
everybody.
could have gotten that in. That's so heartwarming and everything.
We'll
Jim.
follow up with that.
Monday,
We'll talk to Sam
Monday,
maybe in a month or
right?
so.
Right,
Yeah.
very good. Friends, see you again soon. Have a good weekend. Take care.
You're brilliant,
All right.
Jim. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jim.
See you later, Jim.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.